This is Tim Woods, and if only a copy of OBS and a built-in laptop microphone. This is another video from the Nomad Funnel Hacker. So right now I am working on a course about design hacking, but I have decided to film this video as a separate video because it's one of those things that kind of fits in its own box. We have tools like color picker, font identifier, even a multi-tool like Barnum PT, which you can get if you have ClickFunnels, and there's a free and a paid option. I've got the free option. But the problem is those tools can only reach so far. They kind of reach on the surface level here. Now, in this particular website, which is a Rachel Pedersen funnel, and it's very short, it's one page, and of course it leads to an upsell, but this is the opt-in page, and that's all we're going to be dealing with. We have a background image, and those tools don't tell us anything about the background image. And the main thing we want to know is, what does it look like in reality? Because we can tell that it probably has a white foreground. None of our Google extension tools or Barnum PT are going to do what we need to do here. Even if we go to Barnum PT and use the image scraper, it tells us nothing. It only comes up with 5 pictures here. Image scrapers, by the way, are notoriously fickle. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So we need something way more high-powered than what we've got in our list of extensions. And I don't know what the equivalent would be for a Apple machine. I don't have any Apple devices, so if you're a Mac user, I really can't help you. But if you're running Windows, and for sure if you're running Windows 10 or 11, we can go to our settings by clicking on the 3 dots here. Go down to where it says More Tools, and then click on Developer Tools. That will bring up the Windows Dev Tool. Now, before we get too deep in this, I want to bring up a notepad. So you want to go ahead and bring up a notepad because you're going to need this in a little bit. So the Windows Dev Tool has all sorts of information about the code of a web page. Way more than you will ever need as a funnel builder. So a lot more power than we need overall, but sometimes just the thing we need. With the Windows Dev Tool, using it as we're going to use it, we want to go to the top here and have elements selected. And then the 2 other things that are of interest to us is this little device icon. This will toggle between the mobile and the desktop view. And this little arrow thing, which is our pointer where we can select different things. And if you notice, when we put our arrow over that row, it tells us information about that, including the font type, the font size, the font color, also the background color, and other things. Now, if you look to the right where the actual code is, you can see that it has shaded the area that corresponds to that. And that's going to be very useful to us. But that's the basic functionality of the Dev Tool as we're going to use it. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the very top of the code, and in brackets you should see !doc_type HTML. So that means that's the top of the web page, or the top of the code. Now immediately below that, you're going to see HTML language equals EN, which stands for English, then class equals clickfunnels.com. Now this is also useful if you're analyzing a website and you don't know what it was made in, because it's going to identify what program it was built in, whether it's ClickFunnels, WordPress, Wix, whatever. The other thing we want to look at, and it's in this first batch of text here, is almost all the way to the bottom. We have a line that says background-image, URL. In the parentheses, we have a URL. And it's a long one. It says HTTPS images, ClickFunnels, until we get to the JPEG. Now, what we want to do is copy that URL. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. What we have to do is copy this whole section, which we choose copy element. And this is where our notepad comes in, because once we paste this, it's going to be long. You're going to have all sorts of stuff because it's copying some of the stuff in the other section beside the element. But we just want to scroll to the top of our notepad. We can see it corresponds to the top of that line. There's the classical ClickFunnels. And we'll just scroll down until we find that URL, which is right here. Start at the https:// and go all the way until you get to at the end of the G for JPEG. Copy that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put a places at the bottom here. Put a divider line and paste that URL just to have it in case I do something stupid and lose it from my clipboard. Now that we have that, we can open up a new browser window, paste that in there. And you should have something that looks like this, a name, a size, and then in blue, it'll have a link showing it is a valid URL. And if we click on that, then it will bring up that picture that's in the background. And so that's what the real picture looks like without any of the white foreground. Again, we know nothing else about this picture other than it is a certain size and assigned to a certain URL. So whether this is licensed, whether this is something that Rachel Pages have made, we don't know. And so we wouldn't want to just use this unless it's in a case like this where we are doing a study and we're replicating something. But you wouldn't want to take this and use it unless you were sure that you had the rights to do so. Now, it could very well be the case that she may have got this off one of the royalty-free photo sites like Pexels or Unsplash, or it could be a paid site like Adobe Images, or what's the other one, Envato, or one of those sites. We just don't know. So just be aware that intellectual copyright laws do exist, licensing does exist, and you need to be aware of all those things. At this point, for the purposes of the design hacking course I'm putting together, we just want to know what the background picture looks like. And that's going to be useful to us. If we want to get a similar effect, we could find a picture that is not necessarily exactly the same, unless, of course, we find it from a royalty-free site, but something that is similar. So that is how you extract the background image from a website and find out what it is using the Windows Dev tool. But as I said, just remember, with great power comes great responsibility, and you don't want to steal other people's stuff, because the whole purpose of modeling is to understand the framework, understand the structure, understand the pattern of success that a website that's converting has and why it works. So that is going to be it for this video. My name is Tim Willis. I'm a certified ClickFunnels funnel builder. I make tutorial and demonstration videos on ClickFunnels, funnel building, webpage design, and all the tools like the Windows Dev tool that we use to accomplish those goals. That's the video for now. I will talk to you later.